Well, hello, welcome back to Tail 3 Cabins. This video is going to be a little bit different, a little supplemental. We made a big purchase. Karen got a new car. It's not often that many people get new cars every day, so I thought I'd make a little video on this. It's a 2022 Ford Escape, and it's a plug-in hybrid. And the plug-in part means that it has an electric engine on it, which will give you so many miles of electric driving. So we've had it now for a couple months, and I just thought that I would add my 2 cents. And also, there were a few things that I tried to look into. So if you go to Ford's website or look at the sticker, it tells you that it gets 100 miles per gallon of electric driving. And how is that derived? Also, it's going to tell you that on the hybrid side, it's going to give you 40 miles per gallon. So you can look at the sticker, it'll show you those things, but really, how do they figure that out? And what am I actually getting? So we've had it, like I said, for a couple months, and when we first got it, it had a full tank from the dealer, and we drove it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, without using one drop of gas. We plugged it in every night. Our driving took us on some short jaunts or just errands. Our longest drive was to our daughter's house, which is probably about 17 or 18 miles away, and we were able to run all of that on the electric engine. So we picked up the vehicle. As I mentioned, it gives a full tank, and then it also comes with a 110-volt charger. And basically, that charger, if you look on the back of it, says that it is rated for 1400 watts. And that's probably around 12 amps. So when you're plugging this in, if you're going to be using it in your garage, you want to make sure that it's on its own circuit, really, or not anything else plugged in that circuit. So it's almost like running a microwave constantly to charge this thing. And it's going to run it for about 10 hours to get a full charge from empty to full. Kind of unique to just see the gas side of this and not budge. Now on this sticker it'll say 37-mile range. Ford's website says it's got a 37-mile electric range. That's probably an average. Now you can do better than that, but you have to be under optimal conditions. And what are optimal conditions? Well, right now we're probably under optimal conditions, and that means that you're not going to be using the air conditioner, you're not going to be using the heater, you're not going to be using the heated seats, so you're not going to use any sort of climate control. And now if you couple that with some driving intelligently for a hybrid or a electric vehicle, just doing soft starts and soft braking, and try to get that regenerative braking to charge the battery back up when you're making your stops. No jackrabbit starts and no slamming on the brakes when you're coming to a stop. You could probably get 42 miles off of a charge, and we've done it, like I said, during optimal conditions. Now when it's cold out and you're running a heater, it's going to take a few miles away from you, and same thing in the summertime if you're running the air conditioner. So when Ford says it's 100 miles per gallon on the sticker on the window, how did they derive that? From what I can gather is that they're getting that figure from what 1 gallon of gas can create in electricity. So a gallon of gas can create so many kilowatts of electricity, and that's going to give you 100 miles of electric driving. So that doesn't tell you the whole story, though. So what's going to happen to your electric bill? What is going to happen if you get a 220 charge? Normally, if you're charging off a 110, it's going to take you a good 8 to 10 hours, depending how depleted the battery was. If it was totally depleted, it might take 10 or 11 hours to fully recharge this battery back to 100%. Now, if you have a 220 charger and you have a 220 plug in your garage, well, then you could probably knock that time into a third and do it within 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. Does that mean you're going to save electricity if you are using a 220 charger? No, basically, these batteries need so many watts to charge them. If you look on the app, it goes by kilowatts when Ford shows you on the app. Normally, a depleted battery charging to full will be around 10 kilowatts overnight. Whether you're running 220 or you're running 110, it's going to be 10 kilowatts off your meter no matter what. So it really doesn't matter. It's not going to save you any money. All it is going to do is increase the speed of charge. Now, if you want to figure out exactly what it costs you to run this and try to equate to the current gas prices, I took my electric bill and I divided it by the kilowatt hours that we use. I made sure we had a bill that was not estimated. I took our total kilowatt hours and I divided it by the total of the bill. Now, if you look at the bill, it'll say that you're charged so many cents per kilowatt hours, but then you got to tack on taxes, you got to tack on transmission fees, and a whole other plethora of fees they like to tack on. So take the total cost of your electric bill, divide it by the kilowatts you use that month, and that should give you a good idea, if not an exact idea, of what you're paying per kilowatt. And I did that with our bill, and we're paying around 11 cents per kilowatt. So if it takes 10 to 11 kilowatts to charge this battery overnight, we're using up about $1 to $1.20 in electricity each time we charge it from empty to full. So if a full charge gives you around 40 miles, and let's be conservative, we'll say it's the 37 miles that Ford says. And if you take the current price of gas in our area, which is $4 a gallon, you could take that $1.10 divided into the $4, and it's basically going to give you a little over 3 charges per what a gallon of gas costs. So in our area, we're getting the equivalent of what gas costs of 120 miles. It's about $4 of electricity equates right now to 120 miles in gasoline. So I hope that helps explain things a little bit. If you run around town, you're just running errands, or you have a commute that's in that 37 mile, 40 mile mark, you could virtually drive around and not burn up any gas for weeks and weeks on end until you go over that 40 miles. Now when you go over and you use up all your electric power, it's going to switch over to the hybrid engine, and it's pretty much seamless. You don't even notice that it happens. On the dashboard, you'll notice that the engine light comes on. There's an engine light, and then there's a battery light. Usually the battery light tells you when the vehicle's charging and discharging, and that happens while you're driving. And then when the engine comes on, the engine turns to a bright white icon. But we did have a trip to Tennessee where obviously we were going to burn up that 40 miles pretty quick. And basically what happens is this vehicle is going to run on electric as long as it can, and then once the electric power has been all used up, it switches over to the hybrid engine. There's an EV charge mode, so if you don't think you're going to be plugging in for a while, and if you're on the freeway or if you've got a long drive ahead of you, you can turn on the EV charge mode, and it'll actually charge the battery for you while you are driving. Now it charges it at a rate that's pretty quick. It's quicker than the 110 plug that they gave us. It charges probably around the rate of the 220 plug. When I was watching it, I did it on the way down to Tennessee, and we were charging our battery back at around 8 miles per hour, which the charger, the 110 charger, charges up around 4 miles per hour. Use this EV charge mode, you're going to get about 10 miles of electric driving back per hour, and it will only charge up to about 80% because it's going to leave room for regenerative braking, coasting, and stuff like that. The only way you'll charge this thing back to 100% is if you plug it into the wall overnight. If you're on a long trip and you're just using the hybrid engine, you're going to be getting around 40 miles per gallon of gas. That's what your fuel economy is going to be. If you turn on that electric drive mode, it's actually going to cut into your gas mileage, and it's going to knock it down from what I could tell to about 36 miles per gallon. You're getting 36 miles per gallon, and it's giving you 10 miles back every hour of electric driving. So I don't know if it's really worth it. I'm not sure who would want to use that or why. They describe it as if you don't have a way of plugging in your vehicle and you want to charge it, that's your option of charging it. So all in all, I've been very happy with the vehicle. Now we purchased the Escape because my wife had an Escape prior to this. It was a 2013 that we purchased in the year 2012. And she liked it very much. We handed that car down to our daughter. She always wanted to get another Escape. We ordered this one, and it took about 3 or 4 months after we ordered it to come in. The plug-in part and the hybrid part intrigued us because we thought we could use this around town, and then we have my truck as a workhorse when we're going to Southern Ohio. We need to carry something, got to do some chores in Tennessee. But this vehicle we thought would be most economical for us and also get us to experiment a little bit with the electric vehicle without losing range, still having that gas option, but maybe just a little bit of affordability when it comes to what the price of gasoline is right now. Now, if there's one thing that bugs me a little bit about this vehicle is that it had Sync 3 in it, and you could not get Sync 4. I was watching these models for the last couple of years, and I believe the 2020 model, the Escape, was supposed to get Sync 4 and never did, probably because of the chip shortage and all the stuff going on with the auto industry right now. So I was disappointed that it had Sync 3 in it. Sync 3 came out in 2016. This is a 2022. So Sync 3 is, to me, 6 years old when it comes to technology. And Sync 4 came out in the Mustang, and I think you can get it in the F-150 in last year's models. So I really wish it would add Sync 4 on there, just because we keep a vehicle for a long time, usually around 10 years. My wife and I, we alternate So every 5 years we're usually buying a vehicle, but we each keep our vehicles for 10 years. So now there's a ton of videos out there about the Ford Escape, and you can get into a lot of details, and people will show you about the menu screens and all the little doodads and everything. I really didn't want to cover that. There's enough of that out there. I just wanted to tell you that we've been using it for a couple months, that this is what it's cost us when it comes to our electric bill. This is what it cost us when we're saving gas. And basically we're using about a third of the cost of gasoline right now every time we're using the electric engine. When we went to Tennessee, it was about a 1,500 mile trip. Normally I would burn up probably about 80 gallons of gasoline in my Ford F-150, which gets around 21 miles per gallon. And we only used about 17 gallons of gas that whole trip. It was a nice comfort, especially with the price of gasoline right now. It was a good ride. Of course, there's drawbacks. We like having a pickup truck and the option of carrying a lot of things with us, but this vehicle did just fine. I really enjoyed the intuitive cruise control. Basically, when you have that intuitive cruise control and the lane assist on, you can let your hands off the steering wheel, even though it's going to warn you that you did, and it's going to steer for you. So it is a nice little comfort. If there's one bad thing about it is if you drive long distances and use it, you might get a little bit too used to it. And when you have it off, you might still think in your head that it's on and you're expecting the vehicle to slow down for you. One last thing to consider, and I would check with your state, is in the state of Ohio, since this is getting better mileage and a lot of times we're not using as much fuel, the state still wants to collect some sort of tax from us that they normally get through the gasoline tax. When you pay per gallon, there might be 30 cents, 40 cents of taxes in that gallon of gas. Well, the state of Ohio tacks this onto a license plate if you own a hybrid or a electric vehicle. So it could be a $200 extra fee to get your license plate just because you have a hybrid or an electric vehicle. It's tiered. A hybrid is a little bit cheaper than an electric vehicle is a little bit more expensive in our state. So that's one thing you might want to check out before you decide if you're going to really be saving money when you purchase an electric vehicle. So far we are very happy with this. We've been getting around 50 miles to a charge, which is great, but it is the optimal weather out there. It's warmer, and we haven't been using the air conditioning as much, but it is great to cruise around, plug this in overnight, have another 50 miles to go do some errands, plug it in overnight, have another 50 miles to do something else. And we really do not see a gas station that often, maybe once every 2 months on the average right now, unless we're on a long trip. So I hope that answers a few questions maybe on the economic side of just, how much is it going to cost to charge this compared to what gasoline costs. Just a short little video, thought I would add it. We're actually owners of it. We're not sponsored by anybody. We wanted this car, we purchased this car, and I just wanted to share that information with you. And if you're interested to see how somebody juggles between 3 cabins, a log cabin we live in, a rental cabin in the Smokies, and a hunting cabin down in southern Ohio, maybe subscribe to us, click on that little bell when you want to know when a new one's coming out, and keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.